All right, I'm going to go ahead and implement this architecture in Amazon Web Services using the Amazon Web Services Learner Lab. And I'm going to try to go kind of fast, kind of speed run through it. Not really take my time explaining why I'm doing what I'm doing, but here we go. There are some limitations. Just note in this, like we're not going to have high availability because we're not hosting the same services in multiple availability zones, but that is just the way it is. So first things first, I need a VPC to hold this stuff. So I'm going to create a VPC, and I'm going to do the hard way, mark VPC. And according to my diagram, my VPC subnet was 10.24.0.0/16. So that will hold all the IP addresses, not using IPv6. Yeah, that's good. Create it. Now I know I need an internet gateway, so let's go make one. So I'm going to create an internet gateway. I'm going to call it mark IGW. Mark IGW. Create internet gateway. Super nice. Let's attach it to our VPC. Let's attach it to the mark VPC. That sounds good. Now let's go to subnets. Let's create our subnets next. So I'll create subnet. Make sure I choose my mark VPC. And my name, I'm going to look to the right at my diagram. Mark public SN subnet availability zone. I'm just going to put everything in 1A. That'll be fine. What do I want this one to be? I said it was going to be 10.24.10.0/24. That's what my diagram said. Your diagram might be different. So I'm going to create that subnet. Done. All right, let's create a new one. New subnet. I'm going to put it in my mark VPC, and this one is going to be mark prod SN for our production subnet. 10.24.30.0/24. Oh, that's good. Bam, subnets done that's made. So I'm going to create a new subnet. Choose my VPC, and I'm going to call this one mark web S-SN. So we'll put our web server there, 10.24.20.0/24. That's good. Oh, that's just fine. Okay, so I got my VPC, I've got my subnets. What am I going to do next? I could create my security groups. Why not? I'll create a security group. Create security group. And I'll call this, I'll start looking at my diagram. I've already documented these, so I'm just going to do what I documented. Mark nat instance SG. Nat instance. VPC, make sure to change this to not my default, but to mark. So ingress in, I'm going to allow all traffic from my 10.24.0.0/16. And I'm going to allow out all traffic. So this will accept all traffic from the VPC, let everything out, because we're going to be sending it off to the internet. So that's good. Getting back to my security groups, I'm going to create a new one. And this one's going to be a little bit lazy, I realize. Mark Active Directory SG. This is going to be a lazy Active Directory. Active Directory has a whole bunch of ports and everything. I'm going to do it very lazy. This is actually going to map to, it's going to have the same rules. It's going to allow all traffic from my 10.24.0.0/16. I know that's lazy. I should use the specific ports and protocols. Pretend I did. All right, create security group. Moving on. I need to go to my security groups, create a new one, make sure I'm putting it in the right VPC. This will be my Mark Windows Bastion host security group. Bastion host. Mark VPC. So I'm going to allow RDP It's port 3389, and I'm going to allow it from the internet 0.0.0.0/0. I'm also going to add a rule to allow, I'm going to allow all traffic from my VPC. This is mostly for troubleshooting. This one wouldn't, like, it's like, do we really need to connect to this from inside the network? It's fine, create a security group. I'm leaving all the outbound rules. I don't want to take a survey. Can't do a survey while speed running. All right, a couple more security groups. I need my Mark web security group, allow 80.443. Make sure I choose my correct VPC. So I'm going to choose HTTP. This is going to be intranet only, 10.24.0.0/16. And even though we don't have any certificates, we won't have any certificates in this little environment, we'll at least create the rule because we would want to do it even using self-signed certificates or something. I'm going to allow ICMP IPv4 also from the same 10.24.0.0/16. That'll be good, so we can troubleshoot. We'll be able to ping it. That'll be fine. So security groups, I need another one. Create security group for my database. Mark database SG. It is going to be MySQL or MariaDB database. Choose my VPC, add a rule. We can choose my SQL/Aurora. It's going to give us port 3306. MariaDB uses that same one, so that's fine. We'll allow it from 10.24.0.0/16. Also add a rule. ICMP IPv4 from the same one, 10.24. There we go. Should work. Again, leaving outbound default. And now we just need one more security group. This will be the 6th security group. This will be Mark SMB SG allow SMB. This will be for our file share server. So we're going to allow SMB find that service. It'll give us the port 10.24.0.0/16. Add another rule just for troubleshooting purposes. 10.24.0.0/16. So we can ping it, see if that's going through. And oops. That's good. Create my security group. All right, so this is good. Let's take a look at our route tables. We need some route tables. I'm going to create a route table. And I'm going to have a public route table, so I'll call it Mark public RT for the Mark VPC. Create route table. And I will go back to my route tables and create a new route table. And I will call this one Mark private RT. For stuff that doesn't have public IP addresses, make sure I choose the right VPC. Subnet associations. So if they don't have explicit ones, what do I want to associate with the private? I want prod and Mark web to be associated with the private. Let me take a look at my route tables. I got my Mark public. Subnet associations. I'll edit the subnet associations. I want that one to be associated. So now if I go to VPCs and I look at my Mark VPC, look at the resource map, Yeah, so my web is going to the private subnet. My public is going there. That's good. There's no connection between my public route table and the internet gateway, so that traffic's really not going anywhere. So let's change that. Let's go to this public route table and let's edit the routes. Let's add a route. So I've just got the local route here. So I'm going to edit the routes, add route, 0.0.0.0/0 to an internet gateway, and the one that I want is the only one there. So I'm going to save that, and that's good. I can't really change my private route table yet because I don't have any instances that are really doing anything. So let's go create an instance. Let's go to EC2. Doesn't really matter what I create first. So instances, I'm going to launch an instance, and I'll call this markNat keyboard lag nat instance. And I'm going to use the Amazon Linux 2023 AMI. That's fine. And t2.micro is fine. The key pair, VOC key, edit those network settings because I got to put it in the correct VPC, mark VPC. And the subnet, I'm going to put this in the public subnet. I do want a public IP address to be automatically assigned. I'll use my NAT instance security group that I already created. Look at the advanced network configuration, because just for funsies, even though it would work without this, will make troubleshooting easier. According to my diagram, I said that this server's primary IP address should be 10.24.10.9. I don't need any of that other stuff. Don't need much storage. All that's fine. I'm just going to scroll down, and my IAM profile will be the lab instance profile. So I will launch that. So while that's launching, I'll look at my instances. I'll go ahead and launch another instance. I'll call this one Mark Database. It's going to be Amazon Linux again, but this time I'm going to go a little bit bigger. Databases need some horsepower. Small is probably fine, but might as well go medium this time. Key pair, VOC key. Network settings. I'm going to select a security group. Oops. Select my correct VPC so that I can find my security groups. And I'm going to put this one in the prod security group. Sorry, prod subnet. There's my MySQL database security group. Advanced networking, just change the primary IP, just really to make troubleshooting easier. 10.24.30.88. And last thing I'm going to do, advanced details, IAM instance profile, lab instance profile. Launch. So I'm going to launch a bunch of stuff right now. It's not going to work until I start configuring stuff, but might as well launch it. I'm going to launch it anyway. I need my web. Mark web. Amazon Linux again, but I'm going to use t2.small. Micro is just a little too small. t2.small VOC key for the key. Edit my network settings. Change my VPC. My subnet will be web. Yes. That'll work. I'll select my security group. Mark web security group advanced network configuration. 10.24.30.88. 24.20.100. Scroll down, advanced details. Change my IAM instance profile, launch. So I've got 3 of my instances launched right now. So if I take a look at the instances and refresh, I've got a bunch initializing. Okay, that's fine. They're still initializing. Going kind of slow, but whatever. It's fine. I'm going to launch another instance. Might as well while we're waiting. Mark Windows Bastion. So I'm going to choose Windows. And I'm not going to choose Windows Server 2025. I'm going to choose Windows Server 2022 base because that's what I've tested. Got to do my engineering work and testing before I start using 2025. So for Windows, I'm going to do t2.medium, but same key pair. Edit my network. The mark VPC, and this is going to go into our public subnet. We'll select an we do want a public IP address for that one also. So I'm going to select my security group, and it's going to be my Windows Bastion. And I'll set the primary IP. Again, this is mostly for troubleshooting. This will help us. 10.24.10.50 is what I have in my diagram, so that's what I'm going to use. And in advanced details, I do want the IAM instance profile. That will be helpful. Launch it. How my instances doing? Got 4. All right, my NAT instance has launched. Should I launch the other ones? Might as well just launch the other ones. We'll probably have to reboot them because they're going to want internet access, but they're not going to know how to get there, honestly. So you know what? I'm going to go to this NAT instance, and I'm going to actually configure it. So I'm going to connect. I'm going to use Session Manager because we didn't open up port 22, so this will work. Now I'm going to go find the scripts to run. All right, these should work just fine. If I got a slippery laptop. Paste as plain text. Boom. All that work should go smoothly. Script's been tested. All right, in the instances, I've got to go to Actions. Is it networking? Change source destination checks. Stop it. Stop doing it. And that's good. I need to edit my route tables now, so I'm going to go to VPC, route tables, and I've got my mark private route table. I only have a local route here. I need to edit this route, and I need to add a default gateway to an instance, which is my NAT instance. Save changes. So that's good. So my NAT instance should have access to the internet. Anything using that private route table should be good to go. So I'm going to come back to EC2 and look at my running instances just to remember where I am in this process. But that NAT instance should be good. The Windows Bastion host should also be good. It's initializing. The web server, we'll give that a little bit. It's passed. That's also passed. But what I'm going to do, because their networking would have just changed because they're in a private route or a private subnet, I'm actually going to instant state. I'm just going to reboot them just because I don't need them yet, and rebooting them won't hurt at this point. So while those are rebooting, I'm going to launch 2 more instances. I'll launch mark active directory. bet you know what that one's going to be. So I'm going to choose Windows, but again, change it to Server 2022. 2022 base. And choose, when it gives me the opportunity, choose medium, because Windows likes its CPU and memory, so might as well give it a sufficient. Same private key as always. So this is going to go in the production subnet of the Mark VPC prod. So I'm going to select my lazy Active Directory security group. I know, it was lazy. It is what it is. 10.24.30.55 is what I documented in my diagram for its statically assigned private IP address. And I will choose the lab instance profile. Launch it. So I'll go to my instances again. I got one more instance, just one left, my file share. Windows file share, Mark file share. Again, I'm going to use Windows 2022. Same size for my other Windows instances. Medium, t2.medium, it's fine. Choose my same key, edit it. This is also going to go in the Mark VPC in the production subnet. Select my file share security group. And it's being covered up by Camtasia, so I got to get that out of the way. There we go. Advanced networking config, its primary IP will be 10.24.30.100 is what my diagram says. And that should be good. So advanced details, IAM instance profile, lab instance profile, and launch. So if I come back to my instances, they should all be in the process of booting up, becoming available, so that should be good. Let's go to the database. So I'm going to connect to that one via Session Manager. If Session Manager works, I know my internet access is working. If it doesn't work, it means internet access is not working. So I should be able to ping google.com. I can, so that's good. If I trace route to google.com, I'm just going to Control-C, cancel that because I don't really care. The first hop, that's my net instance. Okay, networking is working the way it's supposed to. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to grab the scripts to install MariaDB. You can do MySQL if you want to. If you want to make life a tiny bit harder on yourself, you can do that. But Amazon recommends this. It'll go out, install it, enable it, turn it on. It'll be good to go, although not quite secure yet. It's going to take a little bit. It is going out to the internet to download all these packages. So if your internet access is not working, this will not work, but you wouldn't have been able to use Session Manager anyway. All right, enter current password for root. Enter for none. Switch to Unix socket authentication? No. Change the root password? Yes. New password? P@SSWORD1. P@SSWORD1. And when I said O, I really meant 0. Disallow remote login. Remove the test database. Sure, reload all those privileges. All right, so I created a file called creds.txt where I'm going to store MySQL root PASS. All right, so a little bit lazy, but I'm also going to have a WordPress user. I'm going to use that same password for my WordPress user. So So how do I actually do that? So I need to connect to my database, MySQL -user root -p, that says prompt for the password, p at ssw0rd1. I'm in. I've logged in. So I'm going to have to modify this slightly. Create database, WordPress DB, don't have to modify that because there's no IP addresses or anything in there. But this next line, I don't want to use that. Instead, I want to use 10.24. It says 0 rows affected. It's fine. I need to also modify this to be 10.24 because that's my VPC subnet. All right, should be good there. I've got a database and a user account. Look at my credentials. I called it WP_user with the credentials, password. Not very creative. It is what it is. Obviously, should be using something more secure if this was something more important. Database server should be good to go. Why don't I go to my web server next? So I'm going to connect to my web server. Connect. Session manager is good. So what am I going to do? I'm going to install Docker. I'm going to Control-Z undo these changes. PSE web. All right, I'm in my PSE web now. 10.24.20.100, that's the IP address of my PSE web. I'm going to paste plain text. This will go out, install Docker stuff, which is good. It won't install my container yet, though. So while that's going, I'll look at what I have to do next. Run docker info. Sudo docker info. Yeah, doesn't say file not found or anything. I'm going to pull WordPress. And while that's downloading, I'll just get this ready to run because I will have to modify this because this is looking at an IP address that I don't want. I've got to modify this to be 10.24.30.88, but all those other credentials and the database, all that other stuff should be good. So when I run this, WordPress should start up just fine. Paste as plain text. So I can do sudo docker ps. I've got a container running. Now is it working? I don't know. That's a problem for future me. Now me says it's good to go. So my NAT instance is good. My database instance is good. My web instance, hopefully all that's good. File share is the next easiest one to set up. So why don't we do that? I've got my file share. I'll connect using the session manager. That'll just give me PowerShell, which will be just fine because this is pretty quick, pretty easy to do. Eventually should give me that PowerShell prompt. There we go. Now here are the scripts that I'm going to modify because I don't want to call this marketing. I need my last name. And my first name instead of marketing in HR. just to show I did it. That's it. And I'm just going to copy those modifications. Everything looks good. So I'm going to come over here, just right click, paste as plain text. Taking a second to think about it. Hit enter that last time. Get SMB share. All right, I've got Jim and Mark shared. File share, good to go. So let's look at these instances. I've got 3. I'm going to store their credentials in here just so I got them. File share, admin, Active Directory, admin, and my Windows Bastion admin. And yeah, am I really about to show you my administrative credentials there? Yeah, sure am. I'll have deleted these by the time, hopefully that they're useful, but it's all good. Windows, well, I'll do file share first because I'm going to use that one last. So if I connect RDP client, get password. All right, uploaded my labs user.pem. There's that password. Use that copy button. It helps. So that was file share. My text is wrapping. Oh, that's fine. Instances. Let's go to Active Directory. What's the password for Active Directory? So if I was going to connect RDP client, get password, same private key. Decrypt password. There it is. Add that to my credentials. And Windows Bastion. That's what I'm actually going to use first. Instances. Windows Bastion. Connect RDP client. Get my password. Please don't try to use this one. It is available to the public internet. All right, I'm gonna save that file. Those are all the credentials should need. So let's try it out. There's my public IP. I could download the remote desktop file. Sure, why not? Put it in that delete folder. I'm going to change that folder. I'm going to put in my Mark VPC that I created for this and open it up. I'll copy that password again because that's what I need. Connect. Paste in my password. Don't ask me again, even though it's going to ask me again because it's going to get a new IP address with a different, so this certificate's not going to match the one I already saved. But I should be able to log in here, which is fantastic. I'll pause while the desktop gets set up. Now, do you necessarily need to put the sysinternals tools on here? Not necessarily. One thing that I could do, just as a shortcut, I'm going to right-click, copy that file. Right-click, paste. I've got the credentials to the file share and my Active Directory server in there. So I can make remote desktop connections pretty simply. We're not going to be connecting them that many times. Let's connect to the Active Directory server from here, RDP. Oh, was I in my virtual machine? I don't think so. RDP. Yeah, make sure you're not connecting from your desktop. You're connecting from the Bastion host. So the IP address, 172, look at my diagram. I forget. What's the IP address of my Active Directory server? Wake up, computer. It is 10, mine is not 172, 10.24.30.55. So let's connect to it. Administrator will be the username. And there's my password. Just make sure it's on my clipboard. Copy that. Remember me. Connect. Yes. All right, we're on. We're doing good. We have hacked into Active Directory. Well, not really. We're installing it. Installing Active Directory. We will install Active Directory right now. That will be important. I need to install Active Directory, create a new account for myself. I want my server manager. I hate those pop-ups. Add roles and features. All right, pause. All right, it's paying attention to me now. Didn't take too long. Next, next, next. Gonna take a little bit. Active Directory, domain, services, and all those features. Please add them. Next, next, next. Sure, restart automatically. Yeah, I know. I know you're gonna... I just told you I wanted you to. All right, I'm gonna pause here because this can take a little bit. There'll be some work to do once this gets all installed and reboots. All right, a couple minutes later. Yes. Some post configuration is required. Let's take a look. Promote this server to a domain controller. Yeah, do it. This will be mark.local. New Forest, sorry. Mark.local. And in a second, it'll let me type in here the same password. Password 1, p@ss. Again, ideally, we'd want something to be more secure, but for this environment, it's fine. It's fine. We can fix DNS later. Just thinking about it. That's fine. Everything's fine. All's good. If you click install, the server automatically reboots at the end of the promotion operation. Yep. Do it. All right, pausing the video because this will take a bit. All right, Windows, very impolite, but it shut down my remote desktop connection as expected because it's rebooting. It's going to close while rebooting. While it's rebooting, I'm just going to bring up my web browser. And let's see, from the Bastion host, can I actually get to my WordPress server? And goodness gracious, I do not like any of this stuff. Continue without data. No data. Don't do anything. Please, Microsoft. I use so many different computers. It's super annoying to click through all that stuff on every single computer. So we need to go to HTTP because we're not using HTTPS. The private address of my web server is 10.24.20.100. And I see the WordPress installation. This is good. Site title, Mark Industries. Jim password P at SSWRD1. Yeah, it's weak. No thanks.com. Yeah, don't index me because I'm not even available from the internet. So Jim P. So I've got my site. There it is, Mark Industries. Welcome to WordPress. All these wizards. Get out of my way. Hello, company. Picnic will be Friday. Bring your own drinks. Save. All right. So we're good to go. WordPress all set up, working. Happy to see that that's working. I'll see if I can connect to my domain controller again. I'll copy that password. Whoops. Little eager on the paste there. All right, 10.24.30.55. Yes, connect to it. So now the server's a fancy pants domain controller. Let's see what fancy pants new features I have access to. It'll take a little bit. Tools, Active Directory, users and computers. I've got DNS there. DNS is good. I'm going to check DNS because we are going to edit our VPC to point here. So I got our for lookup zones, mark.local, just wonderful. I'm going to look at the properties of this DNS server. If they'll come up. It's doing a lot of thinking in the background. Forwarders. All right, this is great. Forwarders are DNS servers that this server can use to resolve DNS queries for records that this server cannot resolve. So that 10.24.0.2, that's Amazon's DNS resolver, which is good. So if this server gets a DNS request, doesn't know how to resolve it, it's going to forward it there. So that's fantastic. I like that. I like that very much. I'm going to go to Tools, Active Directory Users and Computers. Here's my mark.local. Here's my users. I'm just going to create a new user. New user. Jim, Mark, Markwa. Notice the login, Mark/Jim Markwa. Password P at SSWORD1. P at SS. Mistype P at SSWORD1. Never expires. Member of domain admin. I am powerful. All right. I can do whatever I want now. Good. This is good. I like where this is going. But Active Directory isn't really directing anything. So I'm going to sign out. right click on my start, shut down or sign out. I'm just gonna disconnect. Okay, so I'm back on my Bastion host. All this is fine. I haven't changed anything in this file. All that's fine. I'm gonna, just close that. Disconnect, fine. All that's fine. So thinking about the diagram, the big picture, my cloud project, I've got all my instances, they've got all their IP addresses. Things are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Web server serving websites, database server serving a database, Active Directory's got a directory. The net instance is throwing stuff off to the internet. My Bastion host is doing its thing. The file share, haven't verified that it's doing its thing, but what we're going to do next is modify the VPC so that instead of pointing to Amazon's DNS, we're going to point DNS to our Active Directory server. That'll be a single point of failure for DNS, but it is what it is. This is the cheap and dirty way to connect our environment to our domain controller. So we can actually connect stuff to a domain and use that DNS server. So DHCP option sets. I'm going to create a DHCP option set. Mark DHCP set and name servers. So my Active Directory is 10.24.30.55. I'm going to leave everything else blank. Create DHCP option set. All right, so that's fine. Use that breadcrumb to go to my option set. So mark what I just created. I'm going to actions. Do I need to go to VPCs? Maybe that's what I need to do. Check that. Actions. Quick pause. Yeah, there it is. Edit VPC settings. Option sets. I want the mark one, the good one. All right, save that. Now, that's DHCP, so that stuff that gets applied when servers get an IP address lease. So potentially problematic if everything's already running. So I'm going to do the quick and dirty thing just to make sure all these servers get that new information. I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to just do instant state reboot and wait a couple minutes. Reboot. Yep, reboot. And I'm going to pause while they reboot. Actually, while these are rebooting, I might as well go look at S3. I'm going to create a new bucket. Create bucket. General purpose, I'm going to call this Mark 2024 VPC bucket test. All right, it's good enough. I'm going to disable ACLs. I'm going to uncheck block public access because I do want to allow the public. No bucket versioning. Yeah, they can take care of encryption. Oh, that's fine. Create my bucket. All right, there's my bucket test. Look at the properties, permissions, all that stuff. I need some bucket policy, so I'm going to take a look at bucket policy S3. Let's see. Oops. The following bucket policy grants public access. Yep. All right, let's copy that. But I need to know what the resource is. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this policy, paste it in there. There's my bucket ARN. So I don't want to overwrite everything in there. I want that /star. I also want the error in the beginning. All that's good. So I'm going to allow everybody to get the objects in this bucket. Save changes. All right, objects. I need a couple objects. So I'm going to create some content, but I'm not going to create it. I'm going to have AI create it for me. Who needs web developers anymore? All right, index.html. Go to new file, new text document, index.html. Yes, I know I'm changing the file extension. I know that. Open it with Notepad++ because it's the best. My laptop slipped again. I need a mat. All right, paste it. Save it. Looks like it's missing a little bit. Was ChatGPT still generating it? It might have been still generating it. Recopy it. There we go. Got index. What else did it make for me? An about page. Thank you, ChatGPT. Right click. New text document. About.html. Yep. Who needs proofreading? It's just for testing. Privacy-policy.html. All right. New text document. Privacy-policy.html. Yep. All right, got my 3 files there. So I'm going to upload some objects. Drag and drop. Privacy. About. And index. But about, looks like I forgot to save it. Reload it. Did I screw that up? No. Control S, save. It should be more than 0 bytes. Get Camtasia out of the way. I'm going to re-upload about once I saved it. Because a 0 byte about page doesn't do anything useful. Upload. Should go pretty quick. And I don't have to change the ACLs because my bucket policy should give me everything I need to. Everything I need. All right. All this should be good. So if I look at index, I can find the object URL, open it up. Hey, you got a web page. So I didn't have to go to my Bastion host or anything because bucket policy made this open to the internet. So that's good. ChatGPT helped me with the files themselves. I'm going to close all these session manager things because all those sessions are dead. Anyway, bucket policy is dead. So what is there left to do? Well, let's make sure we didn't screw anything up in our EC2 instances. They should have all booted by now. Let's check sure to make sure that they're running. They didn't crash. They've passed their checks, 2 of 2 checks. That's good. I'll open up my Bastion host RDP connection. Yeah, connect to it. I've got my credentials. All right, so this Bastion host, it's my gateway into my environment. Now I'm actually going to connect to the file share. And my file share, because I want to connect my file share to the directory, RDP. Remote desktop connection, and I want to go to 10.24.30.100. This is my file share server. It's not connected to a domain yet, but I want to connect it. I've got my credentials there. Might still be finishing booting up. Let's give it a second. Actually, little problem, not a big problem, but we're gonna fix it. We're gonna go change this. This file share opened up port 445, but it didn't open up port 3389. So we need to temporarily at least change that. So I'm gonna minimize this. Look at my security groups, and I've got my mark SMB. I'm going to edit the inbound rules, and for right now, just so I can connect it to Active Directory, we could do it through PowerShell, but it's just easier this way. It's the way we've done it. 10.24.0.0/16. So this will allow connections from our Bastion host. All right, sometimes it takes a second for that to be applied. Worked real fast this time, which is nice. All right, so a little lack of foresight on my part, but easy to fix. Just thinking through what could go wrong. I know the server's running. I checked, status checks were up. It was good to go, but it was not connecting. All right, let's go to the settings. It's always a little bit slow the first time the desktop gets going. About. Rename this PC advanced. Yep. I want to change this. Yep. I want it to be a member of mark.local. And the domain admin account I created was this one, PASSWRD1. Fingers crossed. Welcome to the domain. Thank you very much. So I had to click down there, find it. Woohoo! Gonna restart on me. All right, that's fine. Go ahead and restart. Restart now. So it's just gonna close this. I'll be back into my Bastion host. So that's good. So I'm just gonna pause give it a minute to reboot. All right, the web console says that it's booted back up. So let's see if I can access those shares over there. So I'm going to use SMB 10.24.30.100. Now, what credentials am I going to use? I just joined it to the domain, so I'm going to try my domain credentials. Jamarquois P at SSWORD1. Not yet. PASSWOR. Make sure I'm typing it in correctly. PASSWORD. PASSWRD1. All right, let's try connecting. A little bit of troubleshooting, just want to see what the status of this computer is as far as connecting to the domain. Should be good to go. Settings about your PC. All right, full device name, see mark.local, so that's good. And here on the file share, I'll just make sure if I open this locally, let's see, its own IP address, 10.24.30.100. I see Jim and Mark. So if I look at the properties there, look at the network, I see it's in the Mark domain. So that's good. Do I need to add the permissions? I'll add. Jamarqua PASSWRD1. Let's see. All users. Goodness gracious. Users, I want to look for groups. Find everybody. Sure. Domain user, that's what I'm looking for. Being silly. The word was escaping my brain. Domain users. Give everyone sure, read and execute. That's fine. Yeah, just do it. Refresh that because that's kind of weird. We got system and a system right now, so we're a little bit, can get a little bit confusing. All right, so let's try 10.24.30.100. Mark Jamarqua PASSWRD1. There we go. I can now access it because I changed the permissions to give myself access. So now I can see properties. Yeah, there it is. Good. So what's going on right now? Lots of good stuff is going on. Taking a look kind of at the status, I'm going to close this. Take a look at my diagram in Obsidian. VPC is done. Made it. I can get out to the internet. I've got my S3 bucket with policy, 3 web pages. That's good. I've got internet gateway. I could get out to the internet. I know that's working. I got my 3 subnets. I got my 6 EC2 instances. I could load my WordPress page from the web server. It was connecting to the database. I connected my file share to the Active Directory server, and I could access that file share using my Active Directory credentials. I did have to change this SMB security group to allow inbound 3389, just because I didn't want to use PowerShell to try to connect that file share to the domain, but it wasn't too bad. My NAT instance was working because my instances that lacked public IP addresses could still get out to the internet, and I could use my Windows Bastion host to get the graphical user interface to load the web page from the web server from my intranet to connect to Active Directory or the file share. So yeah, everything was working. A lot of moving parts, a lot of things that can go wrong. Any small misconfiguration can have a cascading effect, but so far this environment is good. So this satisfies all the requirements of this diagram. As far as a class project, I would just want you to add some little extra feature. Could be, interpret that broadly. I don't want to restrain your creativity, and you'd be good to go.